Welcome to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage. Today's Storm Prediction Center Day 1 outlook shows an enhanced risk of severe weather across northeast Texas, north central Louisiana, southern Arkansas, and western and southwestern Mississippi. This does include the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, Texarkana, Waco, Texas, College Station, Shreveport, Louisiana, and Jackson, Mississippi here in surrounding areas, with a slight risk of severe weather extending farther to the west into central and western Texas, and then a marginal risk surrounding that as far east here as southwestern portions of Alabama, and also getting back into central and southern Texas. Now, the tornado risk here today is higher and highest across the Shreveport area, getting over toward Jackson, Mississippi here. This will be an overnight threat, so do want to be here on guard. Have multiple ways to get warnings here, whether it's in weather radio, on TV, or multiple devices, because tornadoes are likely as we head into the overnight hours as everybody is sleeping. So this is going to be a very dangerous threat, especially across northeast Texas, getting into north central Louisiana, southern Arkansas, and southwestern Mississippi, with the highest area of a bullseye across north central portions here of Louisiana back toward Shreveport, and southwestern portions here of Mississippi toward the Jackson, Mississippi area. A significant hatched wind risk here from the Storm Prediction Center's update at midday today shows a 30% chance of wind, and also a significant hatched wind risk here across north central Louisiana, much of northeast Texas. This does include Dallas-Fort Worth, and then getting over toward Jackson, Mississippi, Shreveport, and areas across here southern portions of Arkansas as well, with kind of a general wind risk surrounding that into central Texas. And then a significant hatched hail zone of a 15% hail across these areas, central and eastern Texas, and the southwestern portions of Arkansas, north central portions of Louisiana, and southern Oklahoma. The hatched hail risk of 2 inches or larger of hail across the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex on westward here towards central Texas, with those initial thunderstorms being supercells. They could have the potential to produce some very large hail over 2 inches in diameter. Now, looking at this is the composite reflectivity showing some supercell thunderstorms developing across south central Oklahoma and far northern Texas as we head into late this afternoon. And these will explode in intensity as we head into late this afternoon and early this evening. And these will grow upscale into an MCS, or mesoscale convective system, or kind of a QLCS, or a quasi-linear convective system here, in other words. And this is going to produce some powerful wind gusts up to around hurricane force in spots across northern Texas, northeast Texas, getting over toward north central Louisiana, and western and southwestern portions of Mississippi. Again, this does include Dallas-Fort Worth, Shreveport, and down toward Jackson, Mississippi. Now, as these storms push eastward, they will kind of consolidate into a very strong, potent mesoscale convective system and a big strong line, and ahead of on the leading edge of these storms could have some brief spin-ups of tornadoes. And even if you have a discrete here supercell ahead of the main line, could have a chance of a stronger tornado potential, especially into north central Louisiana and into southwestern Mississippi. And this is overnight hours. And then you can see how these storms kind of bow out as they get into north central Louisiana, eastern Texas, and that will be indicative of 75 plus mile an hour wind gust potential as we head into the overnight hours here, as we head into tomorrow morning. And then these storms will continue to push east here into western portions of Mississippi, central portions of Louisiana. Some back building across these areas could lead to a heavier rain threat as well. This will go through here the early morning hours on Tuesday. Now, looking at tomorrow's categorical outlook from the Storm Prediction Center shows an enhanced risk of severe weather again across southern and southeastern Mississippi, south central Alabama, central and southern Georgia, and getting into southern South Carolina, with a slight risk zone here covering around that area, and also a marginal risk zone as well. And then a little marginal risk zone around the St. Louis area, getting back into central Missouri. That is kind of closer to that cold core low, that upper level spin in the atmosphere, where you have a little bit more rotation, kind of, if you can have a couple of brief spin ups around those areas as well. But the main show will be across the southeastern United States here, with a significant hatched 10% tornado risk across south central portions of Georgia, southern and southeastern Alabama, with a marginal tornado risk here around around that zone. So significant tornadoes of EF2s or stronger are possible across those areas, and that includes areas here a couple hours south of Atlanta, getting down towards maybe close to the Mobile, Alabama area. Savannah, Georgia, getting in those areas, getting close to Charleston, South Carolina. They got to watch these storms. Could be severe. This will be more of a late afternoon, early evening threat as we head into tomorrow, but still want to be on guard for the potential for tornadoes and damaging winds, which the wind risk is 30% here along the enhanced risk zone in those areas, and then a smaller large hail risk as we head into tomorrow across south central Georgia and southern and central portions of Alabama, but remotely just pretty much the entire southeast here in a hail risk with these storms, as there are enough instability to tap into to produce some large hail. Looking at this into tomorrow, this is early tomorrow afternoon, showing that convective system pushing into central portions of Alabama, southern Mississippi, the tail end of it into southern portions here of Louisiana. Got to watch the southern end or southern flank of this line, because they could have some supercell embedded supercells that could produce a few tornadoes and maybe even a significant tornado as we head into tomorrow. As these storms race to the eastward, these storms will be moving very quickly here as we head into tomorrow, probably on the order of about 50 or 60 miles per hour. A lot of wind energy once again in the atmosphere, kind of like last week. So these storms will be booking it across here state by state across the southeast as we head into tomorrow afternoon. Late tomorrow afternoon to the early evening, these will here make an arrival in the Atlanta metro area, into central portions of South Carolina, and then these storms will start to fall apart as the better dynamics here move offshore to the Atlantic as we head into our Tuesday evening into our Wednesday morning as well. Now, looking at why this is occurring, the dew point temperatures will be rising into the middle and upper 60s, close to 70 across the Houston area, getting up into central and east Texas here late this afternoon, and that will be the driving force and fuel for here to provide some explosive updrafts for these thunderstorms to take a hold of, and that will produce not only heavy rain with these high dew points, but probably hear some very strong winds over 75 miles an hour, a few tornadoes, potentially a significant tornado here if we can get an embedded supercell or discrete supercell here ahead of the main line, and then even some very large hail as well with all this fuel. Really, here the large hail threat is highest across central portions here of Texas, southeastern Texas, due to the fact that the instability will be here on the order of around 1,500 to locally 2,000 joules per kilogram or higher as we head into late this afternoon, early evening. And there's also a very strong low and mid-level jet that will be punching into these storms here from the south and west, coming from southern portions of Texas, punching right into the storm here complex as we head into central Texas as we head into late this afternoon. And this will provide here longevity for these storms to here maintain themselves with a downstream environment here into Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama. Supercell composite shows here some decent values across central and eastern portions of Texas here, and that will support the threat for maybe a significant tornado across those areas as we head into late this afternoon, early evening, and even here into the portions of Louisiana as well. Now, as we head into tomorrow, our Tuesday, dew points still going to be supportive of some pretty intense storms into the southern Gulf Coast states, the southeast, with dew points rising well into the 50s, well into the 60s. So plenty of fuel for not only, like I said, heavy rain and some localized flash flooding, but also to support the severe weather threat as we head into tomorrow as well. The instability tomorrow, pretty high, especially across south central Texas behind the storms. So we'll have to watch that, see if any storms bubble up there. But I think here the instability will be higher across portions of Mississippi, southwestern portions and southern portions of Alabama, and getting into Louisiana and Georgia with time here as we head into tomorrow. And then, very strong low and mid-level jet punching right into these storms. So these storms will be booking it along, especially with the big pole of wind here, pushing into eastern portions of Texas, much of the Gulf Coast states of Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama. Very strong wind shear values here are going to be supportive of a mesoscale convective system that will here be long-lived. And I wouldn't be surprised if here this is kind of translates into a derecho as this kind of moves across several states for a long period of time. So we'll have to see how that works out as we head into tomorrow. Supercell composite highest across southern portions of Alabama, south central Georgia, northern Florida, and those are the areas here under the gun for significant hatch tornado zone here as from the Storm Prediction Center's outlook here as we head into tomorrow. So got to watch those areas. EF2 or stronger tornadoes are possible, if not likely, in those areas, and a significant tornado parameter here is higher today, or rather higher tomorrow than today across southern portions of Alabama, south central Georgia, northwest Florida Panhandle, and that could lead to some intense weather as we head especially into tomorrow afternoon. Then you have a very big, strong upper level low across the northern plains and the upper Midwest region here, kind of the driving force behind our late week severe weather. So once the early week severe weather energy pushes off here shore across the eastern U.S. into the Atlantic, another very strong, potent storm system across the northern plains, the upper Midwest, is going to be punching a very strong cold front through the Midwest, through Illinois, Wisconsin, western Michigan, getting into or tailing its way down here into Oklahoma and Missouri as we head into our Wednesday morning. And this strong cold front will continue to push through the Ohio Valley, the Tennessee Valley, into the southeast. And this is going to be the driving force behind another severe weather threat as we head into our Wednesday and Thursday here as we head middle into late this week. So a lot of severe weather across the south, and the same zones are going to be expected. And some of these same zones could get hit more than once this week. So this is going to be a pretty intense threat as we head into late this week. Some snowfall on the backside of this upper level low into portions here of northern Minnesota, the eastern Dakotas. A few inches of snow are possible there, probably on the order of 1 to 3 plus inches here. So some areas up there could be shoveling out for some snowfall around the Minneapolis-St. Paul area, on up towards here the Canadian border there into the eastern Dakotas here as we head into our Wednesday and Thursday. Now, the reason being, with that strong cold front pushing through here, you got another enhanced risk of severe weather centered on Atlanta, Georgia, getting up toward Chattanooga, Tennessee, towards Knoxville, Tennessee, getting down towards Birmingham and Tuscaloosa, Alabama. So got to watch this threat here. Portions of western South Carolina, southwestern North Carolina, with a very large, broad zone of slight risk zone across the rest of Georgia, most of South Carolina, getting up into the Ohio valleys, kind of the Appalachian chain here, and then getting back down here into Mississippi once again, Mobile, Alabama, Panama City, Jacksonville, Florida. Got to watch these areas, Tallahassee, as we head into our Wednesday. Very strong upper level low, like I said, is going to be the driving force behind the storm. And look at almost like here a cinnamon bun type of here setup with this, as it's tightly wound across the upper Midwest. And the energy will continue to transfer to the southeast with a very potent cold front. And this is going to be the driving force behind these strong updrafts here along this front as we head into our Wednesday and Thursday. And then finally, the storm starts to push offshore as we head into Thursday night, and putting an end to the severe weather for the southern and central plains and the southeast as we head into Thursday night. Now, the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook from the Climate Prediction Center shows that with that trough pushing into the southeast, pushing out, another ridge starts to develop in the middle of the country around the central plains, southern plains, getting up in the upper Midwest. Some warmer than normal temperatures are expected there here as we head toward the 9th period, the Saturday, April 9th through Wednesday, April 13th, and then a very potent trough here I'm watching as we head into the Pacific Northwest and western coast states here as we head toward the middle of the month. And that could translate to another chance of some major severe weather as we head into the center of the country toward the middle of April. Now, drier than normal conditions here on the backside of this trough here across most of the eastern seaboard up into the northeast, the southeastern states. A little bit of enhanced precipitation across the upper Midwest into the Pacific Northwest and the northern plain zones, with another stripe of below normal here precipitation centered on the Texas and Oklahoma panhandle back into New Mexico and Colorado as we head into towards the middle of the month. Now, looking even farther, the 8 to 14 day temperature outlook from the Climate Prediction Center shows much above average temperatures across much of the Northeast, the Mid-Atlantic, the upper Midwest, the Great Lakes region, getting down into the Dixie Alley, Southeast. Much of the eastern 2/3 of the country going to be dealing with a very potent ridge and then a very potent trough here on the backside of that could be the driving force behind a very intense thunderstorm type of event as we head toward the middle of the month. Still ways out for that here to be resolved, but I wanted to let you know that there's going to be a chance for an intense low pressure system to develop. Whenever you get a big contrast in temperatures from one side of the country to the other, there usually is a pretty potent area of low pressure that develops right in between, kind of in a battle zone, right into the central plains and rides up into the Midwest. And that could be here producing some more major severe weather, especially on the southern and southeastern side of wherever that low pressure system does develop, potentially toward the middle of the month. This is Monday, April 11th through Sunday, April 17th. Much below average temperatures across the Pacific Northwest and much of the West here, a matter of fact, and areas that have been cooler across the Northeast and the Great Lakes and Tennessee Valley areas and the upper Midwest here will get their fair share of some 60s and some 70s as we head toward the middle of April. And that will coincide with here above average precipitation across the Great Lakes region into the Midwest, back into the Intermountain West and portions of the Northwest around Oregon, Washington State, Montana, northern portions of Idaho, and just much of the country above average precipitation. A slightly below average or just normal precipitation values across the southeast and eastern seaboard toward the middle of the month here as this ridge continues to dominate across those areas. Well, thank you for watching my video. I know it was a lot to unpack here today, but be sure to like my video and to subscribe to my channel as I will have more weather-related content coming up later this week regarding severe weather and looking longer range at a potential for a more intense storm system toward the middle of April. So thank you very much for joining and have a great day, everybody.